Our car tester Andre Zimmermann explains that the first Toyota Aygo came out in 2005. It held its own with its 9 competitors at the time, but now there are 20. Toyota wants to attract young buyers. It's hoping to do this with the help of its unique design. Though the Aygo is the result of a cooperation between Toyota, Peugeot, and Citroën. The design is definitely inspired by Japanese tradition and styles. But typically for this market segment, the car is efficient, nimble, and versatile. In the Aygo's updated version, these virtues have been enhanced even more. Andre says he likes the Aygo because it's designed for the city. He says the steering is smooth and the turning circle is tight, so it's always easy to drive. Countless customization options let customers tailor the Aygo into their dream car. The various color combinations are rich in contrasts. The X's unique spoiler sets the Aygo apart from its rivals. The pattern can also be found on the rear.
We need to have a very dynamic and an expressive design to stand out. So putting this in mind, we started with a kind of a Japanese culture, like pop culture or Japanese manga or Japanese kabuki, which we call J factors. So if you can see in this, maybe you can see this front bumper like an X. I would say it's a mixed blood combination, which we think we achieved a very new design.
The Aygo's interior is also attractive and rich in contrasts. Customers can choose the color combinations themselves. Everything is very user-friendly and comfortable. Leather seats cost 1,200 euros more. The trunk is small, also typical for this class. Andre explains that he usually adjusts the steering wheel when he gets into a new car, so he can see the instruments despite his height. But he doesn't have to do that with the Aygo because the instruments are on the steering column itself. When it comes to engines, the options are more limited. The 3-cylinder 1.0-liter 68 horsepower engine is now even more efficient. It climbs from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 14.2 seconds. Fuel consumption is rated at just 4.1 liters per 100 kilometers, and customers who want to save on gas can opt for a greener version for 950 euros more, and then fuel consumption drops to 3.8 liters. Andre says sticker prices don't differ that much in the segment. Most city cars have a starting price of 10,000 euros in Germany, a 3-cylinder engine, and about the same amount of space. But Toyota stands out because of its design, and that's what will draw the customers. Toyota has brought out a uniquely designed car. It doesn't want to imitate the Europeans, but the Aygo is made in the Czech Republic. With its new starting price of 9,950 euros in Germany, the updated version is on par with its rivals and will attract many buyers, especially those at the start of their driving careers. Starting with its very first series production model, the 356, Porsche has put out all its sports cars in open and closed-top versions, with the roof custom designed for each model and purpose: convertible, roadster, targa, and others. 1 out of 3 911s built in the past 50 years has been a convertible or targa. The open-top Boxster and the hardtop Cayman are neck and neck in sales. Porsche roof engineer Felix Hermann says the carmaker develops each top specially for the model and contracts the supplier to make the top in cooperation with Porsche. In Europe, the Porsche 356 convertible quickly made its name as a fast and dependable sports car. But in the United States, demand grew for a lower-priced, relatively purist version. That led to the creation of yet another cult Porsche, the 356 Speedster. Porsche roof designer Timo Szycki explains that you had to get into the 356 Speedster to open the fastener and then push the top back into its compartment by hand.
Und dann das Verdeck von Hand nach hinten in die Ablage bewegen.
In the 1960s, it was manual. Today, it's fully electric. On the new Boxster, the roof goes down at the push of a button, fully automatically, while driving or standing still. The Boxster's top opens and closes in less than 10 seconds. When Porsche first conceived the 911, an open-top version was taken for granted. But indications were coming from the United States that convertibles without roll bars would no longer be licensed for American roads. That necessitated the development of an entirely new safety concept. The result was the Targa, equipped with a roll bar. Felix Herrmann remembers that on the 1970 Targa, the top was still manual. The driver had to remove it, fold it up, and stow it away in the trunk. In early 2014, Porsche unveiled the latest and most spectacular generation of the 911 Targa. It combines the early model's extravagant charm with today's comfort and technology. Felix Herrmann explains the roof is based on the original panel bow top. Toward the front are two hard fabric-covered roof panels that fold down under the top compartment lid, beneath the rear glass wraparound window. It takes 19 seconds for the top to open, and it only works with the car standing still. Porsche used new materials to further improve heat and noise insulation. A main focus from the start was to enhance the convenience of operation. Felix Herrmann says fully automatic roofs are available for the 993 convertible, but the driver has to get out to fasten down the cover manually. For the latest 911 convertible, Porsche expanded the Targa's automatic panel bow top to 4 panels. Felix Herrmann says the current top is a completely new design by Porsche. It's a panel bow top with a continuous fabric cover supported by 4 hard panels. It opens fully automatically within 13 seconds using 2 hydraulic cylinders. All Porsche convertibles have at least one thing in common: the intensive enjoyment that comes from driving a sports car with the top down. Audi has launched its first plug-in hybrid model, called the A3 Sportback e-tron. It combines the power of a 1.4-liter TFSI engine and an electric motor for an overall 150 horsepower. The Audi A3 Sportback e-tron can reach 100 kilometers per hour in just 7.6 seconds and go on to a maximum speed of 222 kilometers per hour. In electric mode, the 5-door compact car is a bit slower, but it can still reach a maximum speed of 130 kilometers per hour. Opel has upgraded its Movano utility vehicle with more efficient twin-turbo engines. The new model has 120 kilowatts. That's 9 kilowatts more than the last version. Yet it consumes 1.5 liters less diesel per 100 kilometers. That means fuel consumption of 7.2 liters per 100 kilometers and CO2 emissions of 188 grams per kilometer. In Germany, this version of the Movano starts at just over 35,000 euros. Cars are tested for extreme driving conditions, like the wet surface at the driving camp in Packfurt, Austria. Cutting-edge technology can be applied to coping with almost any driving conditions. When it comes to handling, one key factor is all-wheel drive. Skoda Communications head Pike van Bestenbostel explains that the entire off-road segment is growing, but we ought to distinguish between cars that look like off-roaders and real off-roaders. Either way, sports utility vehicles are currently in high demand, so Skoda is expanding its SUV range even more. Skoda offers a number of models with all-wheel drive: the Yeti, Octavia, and Superb, both as sedans and station wagons. All-wheel drive has advantages both on and off the road. Safe driving instructor Christian Thiessen says all-wheel drive gives the driver a greater safety margin. The power is distributed equally to all four wheels. With front or rear-wheel drive, the wheels might start spinning, but all-wheel drive provides greater traction and better surface grip. The Yeti Outdoor 4x4 SUV more than lives up to its robust off-road look, doing surprisingly well at handling fairly rugged terrain. The Yeti's fifth-generation Haldex transmission comes into its own away from paved surfaces. The power is distributed to the wheels as needed to achieve the best grip, even if it's only on one single wheel. The next test is driving down slopes. Before Christian Thiessen starts downhill, he has to push the off-road button and inch ahead cautiously until he knows which way to steer. Then he lets the vehicle do the work. That means he can actually let up on the brakes and gas, and the car will roll gently down the hill. All the driver has to do is stay on the road. The vehicle does all the rest.
Den Rest macht das Fahrzeug ganz eigenständig.
In its off-road driving mode, the Yeti Outdoor 4x4 is highly versatile. Its cross-country mobility is enhanced by its 18-centimeter clearance, a hill hold control assistant, and the all-wheel drive. The Yeti can handle grades of almost 20 degrees. Christian Thiessen stresses that taking slopes does still take patience. The driver has to proceed slowly, keeping a fine sense for the surface and the car's motion. He's amazed at how this little SUV off-roader can take steep sideways angles. When he feels the vehicle slide, he can compensate just a little and ease it down the hill. The Yeti Outdoor 4x4's electronic differential lock provides extra support going cross-country. Christian's heading into a road shaped almost like a trench. He weaves from side to side, putting the weight on one side of the vehicle and leaving the other in the air. In the off-road driving mode, the electronic differential lock keeps the car moving, even with one wheel off the road. Here again, the all-wheel drive, supported by high-tech, does the job. All the driver has to do is point the car the right way, and it manages to get there. Skoda's 4x4 models are well equipped to deal with all kinds of terrain and road conditions, whether on the way to work, school, or a long, extreme adventure holiday. Test driver Christoph Bauer says he's dreamed of driving a Lamborghini Countach since he was a child. In the early 1970s, it was the fastest car on the road, with a top speed of 300 kilometers and a V12 engine with 375 horsepower. It can go from 0 to 100 clicks in under 6 seconds, though the gas pedal's not that sensitive, he says. So, a typical race car, you need a firm hold on the wheel and a heavy foot on the gas. At 3,000 revs, it starts to wake up, he says. At 4,000, it starts to roar, and upwards of 5,500, all hell breaks loose. The Countach is definitely a looker, just 1.07 meters high. It's guaranteed to turn heads. The fastest way to draw a crowd is to have the Countach spread its wings. The only concession to the driver is the air conditioning. There are few other creature comforts. The V12 4-liter engine steals the show. When the revs tip 8,000, the Countach hits its limit of 375 horsepower, but the car never reaches its top speed of 300 kilometers. But in 1974, 288 kilometers an hour was enough for it to be called the fastest car on the road. Christoph Bauer says it's a good thing the air conditioning works so well because the windows don't. They only open a crack, he says. There's not much luxury here generally, he says. The dashboard fittings look like they've been bought up at a local accessory shop. But then the Countach's strength lie elsewhere, he says.
Zubehörartikelladen, edel ist was anderes. Aber gut, bei diesem Auto kommt es auch auf andere Werte an.
Designer Marcello Gandini said he wanted to create a car that would cause onlookers' mouths to hang open. Christoph says the car is the ultimate challenge. He thinks his left leg will be aching tomorrow from working the clutch. Inside, the car's not so hot, he says, but outside, it's a sensation. The Bertoni design studio really created something unparalleled, especially when you think the car was unveiled in 1971. Production started in 1973, he says, and continued until 1990. And it still looks futuristic today. Someone just asked him if this is the latest Lambo, he says. Marcello Gandini was definitely ahead of his time. And the engine was the first to be installed longitudinally, he says, which is now standard for all Italian super sports cars. And the engine doesn't just look good, he says, it sounds sensational.
Klingt auch sensationell.
12-cylinder engines are a long-standing tradition at Lamborghini. In 1964, the Gran Turismo 350 GT was the first to take the road with its 270 horsepower. Overnight, the Lamborghini legend was born. In 1966, the Lamborghini Miura followed. It had a mid-engine layout, which set a new trend for future super sports cars. The Miura is still considered one of the most beautiful sports cars of all time. The extreme wedge-like shape of the Countach, on the other hand, came as quite a shock, particularly the final series, with its conspicuous vents for cooling the engine. With just 2 protruding cooler vents, the flowing lines of the first Countach series were definitely more harmonious. After the first test drives, the radiators located behind the cockpit had to be repositioned vertically. That was the only way to keep the temperature of the engine, which was positioned in front of the rear axle, under control. The engineers were less fussy about fuel consumption. The 12-cylinder engine, with its 6 Weber carburetors, is a real gas guzzler. Christoph says any Countach driver will be a regular at the local gas station, as the car consumes at least 20 liters per 100 kilometers and can use a whole lot more. But the good thing, he says, is that you can fill it up from both sides. The 2 tanks are linked with a fuel equalizer, but the process takes forever, he says.
Bis dieser Ausgleich stattgefunden hat, vergehen Jahre.
The car requires premium-grade gasoline and holds a total of 120 liters of fuel in all. So filling up the car on both sides at the same time doesn't just look good, it saves a lot of time. The twin tanks help to balance the car and keep its center of gravity stable. Thanks to the aluminum bodywork, the Countach only weighs 1,375 kilos, which together with the racing car chassis means it handles well on curves. It'd be no good for people with a bouffant hairstyle, says Christoph. In fact, everything's a bit cramped. That's the disadvantage of a mid-engine layout, he says. You have to share the space with the engine, transmission, all the mechanical parts. But it's definitely wide. Not so ideal for narrow mountain roads, better for the highway, but great on bends, he says.
Aber Kurven darf sie haben, auf alle Fälle.
The car's greatest weakness, zero rear-view visibility, is also less of a problem on the highway.
Jawohl, ja, das ist Musik. Lambo, Lambo, Lambo.
This must be the sturdiest Golf ever, says our car tester Matas Kurat. Made of granite, it becomes a symbol for the annual GTI meet in Reifnitz on Lake Wörthersee. Matas says he's here to discover what GTI fans are up to and what there is to see.
Anderen Gäste hier so zu sagen haben und was es hier so zu sehen gibt.
Lots of GTIs at any rate, and their fans, many of whom come here year after year. Where's the GTI capital, Matas asks. That's certainly true for one weekend a year when over 100,000 VW fans gather in this small village in Austria. They bring their cars too, even if it means pushing them. Since 2006, VW has been the main sponsor of the event. The automaker shows off the latest prototypes, like this Wolfsburg edition Golf GTI built by trainees. The city of Wolfsburg may not be much to look at, but the car named after it is a real eye-catcher. Matas says the meet's no longer just for Golf fans. Almost all of the VW Group's brands are here. He likes Audi's stand, which resembles a pit lane. But what do these girls think? Since they're not very talkative, Matas decides to go and have a look at Audi's A3 Club Sport Quattro concept car that's celebrating its world premiere here. Based on the A3 sedan, Audi's Quattro division has created a sport version of the car that's lower, wider, and faster than the most powerful series production model. Heinz Hollerweger from Audi Quattro says people here are active in the tuning scene and tinker with their cars themselves, so they know how much work and attention to detail go into the show cars. And he says here you get a feel for trends in the tuning scene, and the exchange, which can be a bit crazy but also expert, is something you really only find at Wörthersee. And because many of the guests here spend the night at campgrounds, Audi has brought along some useful gear, a tent that can be blown up quickly and attached to the car. This initial version can be fastened to a Q3. The latest offering from Spanish automaker Seat might not be so practical, but it is definitely flashy. Its Cupster combines elements of a roadster, a small car, and a sports car. This rep says the Cupster is an emotional interpretation of Seat's Ibiza, Leon Cup Racer, and a convertible. He says they wanted to show what they could do. Here people could also play card table tennis, an interesting twist on Pong, the cult video game of the 1980s. Nearby at Skoda, visitors brave a go-kart course on mini quads and capture the action using a helmet camera. Guests can also view the CityJet, part small car, part roadster. It too was designed and built by trainees. Not to be missed are the daring drivers who perform acrobatic maneuvers with their vehicles and really burn rubber. Volkswagen Supervisory Board Chairman Ferdinand Piech was also on hand to thank Reifnitz for granting him honorary citizenship.
Für die Ehrenbürgerschaft.
Reifnitz was happy to show its gratitude for the 20 million euros in business the GTI meet generates each year. But for visitors, it's all about seeing and being seen. The flatbed of a mid-sized pickup is the perfect place to party. Matas says here at the 33rd GTI meet he's standing on an Amarok pickup. He claims it only goes 100 kilometers an hour, so it took the guys 8 hours to get here.
Nur 100 km/h, die Jungs sind 8 Stunden hierhin gefahren.
He says it only goes 90 kilometers an hour.
90. Okay.
Okay, 90, Mata says. How could he have thought otherwise? But he says it's fun up here and suggests they keep on partying.